Hello and happy Saturday. We have another Saturday food support group. And this is my favorite time of the whole week. Just to connect with you guys and to really get to have community, to have conversations. And I do. I mean, I have my one-on-one with my clients all day, every day. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful and I love it. But there's something dynamic that happens when a group of people come together and commune with each other. And so we have some really great topics for you today. I'm so excited to see what unfolds. But first, we're going to start with Betsy. She had an experience that she wants to share with us. So Betsy, go ahead.
All right. Well, I've wanted to get to this farmer's market all summer, and I fight agoraphobia. So that's part of it. I've been in a lot of pain. That's part of it. But I pushed through and I had so much fun. Granted, all I was interested in meat, and it was at the very end of the walk, but it was Billy Doe's meat. I don't know if any of you have heard of that before.
Yeah, Rebecca
Yeah.
Farmer talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
So you got to see or to have access to Billy Doe's meat at your local farmer's market?
Yes. And on top of that, they accepted food stamps.
Oh my goodness. What
Now
a blessing.
I know. I couldn't believe it. So this is what I got real quick. I got 4 pounds of ground beef, $7 a pound. I got a lamb shank, buy one, get one free, $13. I got a pound of ground lamb, $10, and a pound of cubed lamb bone in. I guess I have to cook most of that lamb in a slow cooker. I'm not quite sure about this, but I am so excited. And the guy also told me that they also carry goat meat. And I thought, goat, but this guy said it's great. He said he can't eat lamb. I was raised on leg of lamb, but he said the goat meat is like smoky flavor, kind of. So I'm going next Saturday. I am doing this. And I'm going to get some goat meat next time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you said you wanted to tell Amy. So did Amy inspire you to go to the farmer's market?
Yes, she did. I was in her group last week and she suggested that, and I said, money and agoraphobia keeps me bound. But I did it, Amy, and your encouragement made all the difference.
See, God knew. God had the whole thing planned out. You just had to be submissive and follow the prompting that he was giving you. And when we do that, when we sacrifice what we're afraid of and we give it to God, then he can go, now watch this. This is the blessing that you could have missed out on, but you didn't because you followed him. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so grateful that God paved that entire way for you, that you got to use your food stamps. And it is some of the best meat on the face of the planet. So I am in tears. I'm so happy for you.
Now, I asked the guy if I could eat it raw because I really want to start doing that. And he wasn't sure.
He can't tell you that.
Okay.
No one can tell you that.
Okay.
No one. I can't tell you that.
Locally sourced and so good. So you think? Maybe?
I can't tell you that, but okay. I really think you should. No. That's the question that everybody asks me. All I can say is that I have eaten local, regenerative, grass-fed, grass-finished beef raw for 3 years. I don't know if you saw my recent video.
I did.
So yeah, I can't tell anybody that they can eat raw meat. we have a live example of Amber O'Hearn. And I don't know what her source was, but she ate raw meat and she had a negative reaction. So I could never in my right spirit tell you to eat raw meat. I really think that you need to check in and you need to ask God or use muscle testing to really find out if this is the best choice for you.
Thanks.
And Shelly says in the chat, Billy Joe, all my meat comes from there. Great folks. Hoda is the best. And then goat bacon is amazing.
Oh, wow.
So awesome. That would be incredible to try that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so proud of you for pushing through your uncomfortableness with agoraphobia. I think that message is going to help so many people to really expect that if they step out of their comfort zone, that it's possible that they will get even more than they bargained for. I mean, food stamps for Billy Joe meats, that is way more than I would have ever bargained for. You must be God's favorite. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Betsy. All right. And next we have Tom. Tom was going to share with us something that he just watched.
So Kevin, I thought Paul Saladino was coming on the show for a minute there, but
oh.
So real quick, I just wanted to say, Amy, I like your new digs. And,
yeah, Amy's got her new office.
Yeah, congratulations on a 200th episode. Or 200th
Yay.
episode. So I watched an Instagram this morning from Kelly Hogan, and it was about going to the doctor and finding a doctor that believes in low carb. And even Kelly Hogan, who's a picture of health, who's been doing this for years. I mean, the doctor's like wanting to put her on statins because she had a cholesterol of 211.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God, she fired.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, this is the same practice where the old doctor that told her to go on low carb to begin with, and he retired 3 years ago. So the first doctor she saw was a female, and she told her she wanted to put her on medicine, which is ridiculous. And
it is. Can you imagine wanting to put Kelly Hogan on medicine?
I'd slap. I mean, come on, you gotta be kidding me. So anyways, and then the second doctor, same thing. So she went online and did the low carb doctor thing, and I did the same thing. So I'll tell you that in a second. But so she found this doctor, and this doctor, and I don't want to give away her whole thing, but it was a series of quick hits, one right after the other. If you just watch it, it just keeps going. And so I think if everybody could find that, it's really interesting. Everybody should do that. You got to find a doctor that's going to support you in what you're doing. And this doctor was actually listening to her, and not only did he support her low carb diet, but all the tests she wanted to have done, and he even offered more tests for her. So she's like, "Yeah, I'll do that too." So I just wanted to point that out to everybody if you can get a chance to watch that today. And so I did this a couple months ago before I found out about having to have my open heart surgery. I found Dr. Eric Thorne. He's a cardiologist in Northern Virginia that I had an appointment. It took 2 months out. That's how long it took to get an appointment here. But he's a low carb cardiologist, and he just did an article that actually Dr. Baker coincidentally was talking about on his show, on one of his podcasts.
Wow.
And one of his videos.
And he's your doctor.
He's going to be your doctor.
Awesome.
I have an appointment with him at the end of this month, and so I'm excited to see him. I'm firing my other cardiologist, as you know, the one that did not detect that I was about ready to die any second for 5 years. She was my cardiologist for 7 years and didn't do anything for me. And she also said that red meat causes cardiovascular disease, and that's, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm done with her. That's it. I'm done. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Just if anybody gets a chance, see Kelly's videos. She always has good videos, of course, but it just hit home with that because it's so true. And I'm over this stuff now. We need to find, we've been lied to by so many things. I mean, I can go on for hours and talk about things I think we've been lied to about. or just ignorance, just general ignorance out there. And thank God there's still doctors that know how to do open heart surgery. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. But we have problems out there, and we need to take care of ourselves. So that's all I wanted to say. So thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important to speak on, because it takes a lot of bravery to not follow your doctor's orders. I did a post this week, and I talked about how Michaela Peterson was my 4-minute mile. And I'm sure you guys know the story, but no one could run a 4-minute mile. And they just thought it was humanly impossible. And then one person ran a 4-minute mile. And then all of a sudden, hundreds of people ran a 4-minute mile. All they needed to know is that it was possible. And so Michaela was my 4-minute mile, in that Michaela Peterson, in that she was able to reverse the symptoms of autoimmune disease and mental illness. And I had both. And I just kept going. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I kept just believing, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I think it was also very difficult. I remember one time, and I know that everybody doesn't have access to Michaela Peterson, but I went to the neurologist and he told me, you are being reckless. You will be in a wheelchair in 10 years. You will be crippled and not able to walk. And I walked out of that appointment and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? I need to inject myself with this medication. I need to inject myself with this MS medicine because I'm being reckless. And I messaged Michaela and I said, am I being reckless? And she was just like, are you kidding me? She was like, you have no symptoms, Emily. You are rocking this. You are so strong. You are absolutely fine. And it was just like this little glimpse. That's like all I needed was just to go, okay. And I am so thankful, because now fast forward years, and my last MRI shows no MS activity. None. So I think it's so important for us to have these conversations and to, yes, hear doctors, yes, hear science, but to actually like view it through our filter of ourselves and what is possible inside of us. And so I love that Kelly did that. I can't wait to go look on Kelly's Instagram page and watch that. Thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah, and Kevin, I was only kidding. I didn't mean anything by that, by the way. So,
no offense taken. I just realized I had forgotten that the meeting was going on at this time, and I was out getting some sun, and so I had walked in and I saw my Google Calendar. And I was like, "Oh crap! I gotta get in." So yeah, and then there I was without a shirt. So really, it was because I was busy surfing since 4:30 this morning.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. With MS.
No, that's Dr. Saladino's thing.
Oh. I thought you were like really saying that you were surfing. I was like, how did you surf? That's amazing.
I know, I was impressed there.
Sorry to let you down.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
As long as you don't write a cookbook, I'm good.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Kevin, for your post. It feels so good for me to I see someone who's eating the way that I am. It warms my heart. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed that video, that YouTube that you had posted.
Thank you.
Now 2 days ago, because since I got onto carnivore, and I thought I was doing high fat because I had come from veganism, and of course there's just an insane amount of saturated fat with carnivore, and I'm going to kill myself. And you were the one who first went and corrected me and like, no honey, you got to do these things, and led me on the right path. And so watching that whole video of how you do the raw fat with the raw meat and steak and all that was just really nice to see that all put out A, B, C, boom, done. So, I mean, I'm pretty close to that, but not nearly as methodical. I haven't been using the parchment paper type thing. So that's a handy tip that I'm going to start incorporating.
Awesome. That means so much to me. Thank you. And I want to thank everyone who encouraged me to make that video. It was quite a big task for me to do, just because I was scared. I was operating in fear that I didn't want to be that person saying, eat raw fat, eat raw meat. And it's not for everyone. But for the people that it is for, they needed to hear this, they needed to know. And Kevin, I'm so glad that you and I crossed paths and I was able to work with you. Gosh, that was over a year ago, probably.
Yep.
And that it literally changed your experience. And I'm so honored. So honored.
Yeah, it was 13 months ago.
13 months ago. Wow. That's amazing. And you're still kicking MS's butt and doing so good. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks for all the help and inspiration.
Not a problem. Next we have Catherine. You had a question and a struggle that you wanted to bring to the group for us to weigh in on. Go ahead, Catherine.
I do. Good morning, everybody. So what I have is I've been struggling for about a week now with some really heavy emotion due to the fact that I have suffered with some sort in some realm eating disorder, basically since I was 10 years old. So I was basically led to believe when I was young that my weight basically defined me. Shoot, I'm going to cry again. Sorry. Anyway,
okay.
that defined me. And so I was put on a weight loss diet from a very young age. So I used a lot of calorie restriction throughout my life, bringing into when I finally was in high school, older teenager. And then I ended up suffering from anorexia nervosa for about 4 years. I even went through my first pregnancy as an anorexic. After that, I proceeded to have 2 more kids, constantly still struggling, the whole time struggling with the scale, because the scale would let me know on a daily basis a multitude of things. One, my worthiness in the world was defined by the number on the scale. And 2, it told me if I was allowed to eat today or not. And 3, it set in the disappointment of myself, and I could be disappointed that day and I could binge because now I'm disappointed in myself. So I'm going to use that as the excuse to binge today or for the next year until I go on a restrictive diet again. But yet every day when my feet hit the floor, the first thing that enters my mind is, what does my day look like with food today? I mean, that's the first thought. And am I going to be worthy today to have food? Am I going to be worthy of love? And those kinds of things that come with it. And then I went through the same struggles until I had my last daughter. She's 31 now. And I gained 100 pounds when I was pregnant with her. I don't know how on God's green earth anyone can gain 100 pounds in 9 months, but did. I gained 100 pounds. And then since then, I've struggled on a restrictive weight loss diet and binging and worthiness and addiction to the scale for the last 31 years still. Never being able to get my weight down below like 175, and I'm 5'9", so not huge, but definitely not in my healthy weight range yet. So over a year ago, I was suffering with a lot of stomach illness, just to make it short. And so I entered into the carnivore diet of September of 2021. I have had so many health benefits from it, so much intestinal healing. I have big lists of things that have been healed. And one of the things that was a great benefit for me is somehow the weight melted off when I did it. And I'm now sit at like 138 pounds, which is more than sufficient for my height.
I'm
But-
so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. But today I'm still struggling with the scale and my addiction to the scale, letting me know if I'm worthy or not, if I can eat or not, and that kind of stuff. I've made sure over the last year, one of the things I can recognize that I do have is I do feel I have food freedom, that I can eat whenever I want to. And I do, but I still have that morning awakening when I get up and go, I still walk to the scale every single day, and sometimes a second time in the day, as if it's still in control of me. And I'm not liking that part, because food doesn't have control over me. And I'm sure of that. I feel free. For instance, last night it was 9 o'clock and I was going to bed, and I'm like, I can't go to bed. I'm so hungry. So I ate a cold hamburger patty that I had pre-cooked and with some butter spread on it, you know, and I wasn't ashamed of that or fearful of that or anything. I just knew I could have it and it was fine. But for some reason, I'm still struggling with mental, some of the mental portions of being addicted to numbers and my self-worth being connected to what the numbers say or don't say. So I was looking for any type of advice if anyone's done anything, had any struggles like that, or how they overcome. And you get it, kind of like that. So that's where I'm at.
Catherine, thank you so much for bringing this question, our story, to the group, because I can guarantee you that you are not alone, and that there are many people who suffer through this. And that's why in my the Inner Clarity System, the 8-week system, week 8 is, how do I function as a healthy person? Because it's just like we go through this whole transition and we're working so hard to heal, that's like our mode of operation. And then once you get there, it's just like, wait, what do I do now? What do I do now that I am well, that I've met my goal weight, or that I've met my health goals? And unfortunately, the mind and emotions have some deep, deep roots that we really have no idea where they come from until we go digging. And I have found that with my clients, I'm able to really get very intentional about the source of where these behaviors came from. And what that tells me is, yes, you have solved the problem in that you are experiencing food freedom. And that is miraculous. That is amazing. But there's still this imbalance. There's still this breakdown in your identity. Your identity is in the scale. Your identity is in the numbers. And you know that when you say it out loud, you know that's not true. But that doesn't change your belief. That doesn't change your feeling, your emotion that you get whenever you think about the scale, when you think about the numbers. You feel that you have to perform. You feel that you are not worthy, that you are not enough if those numbers don't say a certain thing. And so I have found the work that I do is that I do very intentional prayers. And I hate to really, make this spiritual and bring this into this meeting, but I just can't. I can't have this conversation without bringing God into it. And so whenever we've done all that we can do in the physical, then we need to step into the spiritual. And I have found that the prayers, the specific prayers that I pray over my clients, and it's not me. You guys can do this. You can pray specific prayers over yourself. You can ask God, okay, God, there's a problem here. Show me where the imbalance is. And he will reveal it to you. And then you can say, okay, now that I have a name for that imbalance and that misbelief, that wrong belief, release it, Lord. And you can literally say that. And he wants to give his children good gifts. And he will give his children good gifts. You just have to ask for it. And I have done this over and over and over again. And I have found that it is the spiritual realm that is the next level. I feel like carnivore is the gateway drug. And clearing your body and all the chaos and the noise of the sugar and the processed food is foundational. It is so important. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today. My clients wouldn't be where they're at today if it wasn't for removing the the sugar and the processed foods. But then there's another level. There's another level. And yes, it's mental. Yes, it's emotional, but it ties in with the spiritual. And I'm finding now more and more that it's my prayers that are very specific and very intentional that are releasing that. And bringing the correct view of yourself. Because if you think about it, it's all about your identity. And like if I were to ask you right now, Catherine, you would say, I am worthy. You would say, I am good. You would say, I am on track. But it's that little nagging, that little voice inside of you that is just lying to you. And I found that the only way to get rid of the lies is to pray them away, but to pray them very intentionally.
I believe what you're saying to be true. I do practice that, but obviously I don't think that I can honestly say that I've been real intentional about it. I don't know if it's an old hang up that you almost have to hold on to it. As you just said, I've wrapped up my whole identity in that. Let's say I'm 56. So for 46 years, my identity was found in that. And at 16, I did give my life to Christ. And my identity is in Christ. But for some reason, I can see strongly that I'm lying to myself. I'm not finding my identity in Christ. I'm finding my identity wrapped up in food. I'll just leave it as simple as food, whether in all forms or body image or whatever. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I definitely will lean more towards intentional prayer for this, and ask all of you who are praying people as well, if you would do that for me too, because I am really struggling with it. So I appreciate you so much, Emily, and this group, and I thank you for letting us share and giving us good feedback.
Not a problem. And I want to make sure that I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that you're not spiritual enough, because
I know you behind closed doors, and I know that is not the case. And I don't want anyone else to get that message. Well, you didn't pray enough. Well, you got to know who you are in Christ. No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is a strategic method to pray intentional prayers, because literally he dresses the lilies of the field. The lilies, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. And he said, you know what? I want to go a little extra. I'm going to dress the lilies. Mm-hmm.
So does he care about Catherine? Yeah. He healed you. He brought you to this place, and that's amazing. But he wants to go the extra mile. He wants you to know who you are, and for you to have eyes to see yourself the way that he does. And I believe that there is no doubt in my mind that he wants us to come to him for everything. He wants us to ask even those little questions, to say, hey, can you help me with this battle with the scale? Hey, can you help me have freedom in this area of my life? Because Catherine, I know he's got a calling on your life. I know that he has things that he wants you to do. And it's necessary to release this extra layer. And it's not going to be difficult. It's just going to have to be intentional. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to add to Catherine's question that she posed to the group. Monica?
I did. I've had that similar fight, Catherine, where there's times that I've wanted to absolutely put away the scale, but there are times when it's necessary. So for instance, for me, I need to have a surgery and they won't let me have it unless the scale says a certain number. So I don't know if it's that number if I don't get on the scale. And so as Emily said, and as you've said, the first thing I did was pray over it. When the scale became a negative for my mind and my thinking, I had to pray and ask God to remove that. And what God revealed to me was to have a shift of the scale. And it wasn't easy and it took a long time, but I had to look at the scale, number one, as it's a piece of data for a moment in time, because I could go to the bathroom and that number could change. I could drink a cup of water and that number could change. So number one, I was able to stop giving that number power because it was such a micro moment of time in my life. That was number one that I had to learn to do. And the second thing I had to learn to do is just reduce it back down to what it is, sort of scientifically, that basically that's the amount of pull that gravity has on me on the earth at that time. That's all it is. That's literally what the scale is doing, to simplify it. And so that's all it is. And as soon as I could make those two shifts, it could go back to just being sort of a necessary evil that I need to get to a certain number to be able to do certain things in my life. So I have to be conscious of what that number is. You're at a goal weight, and I'm praying for you that hopefully you'll get to a point that you don't even need to know the number. Like if I did not have this other thing I needed to do, I wouldn't care what the number would be because there's so many other pieces of data that could tell me the same thing, how my clothes are fitting, using a tape measure, whatever. That's just one piece of data. And so that's what God helped bring me to, so that I could still get on the scale. And whether it went up or down, it was just a bit of information for that day. So, but I, honestly, that was not an overnight thing. I had to pray every day very intentionally before I got on that scale. And I had to believe it. Even when I didn't, I had to believe it, that it for today, just today, that number is not going to matter to me. I'm going to get on, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to move on with my life. And every day I had to tell myself that number doesn't matter. It's a means to an end. Eventually I believed it, but that took some time to believe it. But that's what God kind of revealed to me. And seeing it more in a scientific matter sort of detached it from an attachment to me. And so I don't know if that will help at all, but that's where God led me with it. And just having a mind shift of any kind of way changed that for me.
And I loved how God prepared you that one week, where he literally prepared her every day that week that the scale was going to go up. And she was just like what? But then whenever the scale went up, she was just like, I'm ready. Like, it was just like the Lord just, he gave this grace to her. And it was so beautiful. You remember that, right, Monica?
I do. Yes. So that's where I went with it, Catherine. I hope that helps at all.
Yes, she says yes. Thank you. Awesome. Kevin?
So you had mentioned just a bit ago, talking about something about identity and how you put identity into things about the weight and all of that. So when I help my hypnotherapy clients, I have to remind them that healing is a loss experience. You are losing your identity of whatever it was, the reactions that you had, the problems, the triggers that you had, and that has been who you are. That's what you tell yourself. I am. And that's a very powerful thing to state. So you say, oh, I just struggle with, cravings, or I struggle with, whatever. And when you get over that, then some primitive part of your brain is saying, wait, that's my identity, and I'm losing that. And there's a sense of loss. And so then you go through the stages of grief. You got the denial, the bargaining, the rage, the depression. And that whole process is not linear. So you can just recognize that, hey, I am experiencing this thing because of whatever, having gone and freed yourself from whatever previous view you had on yourself and belief you had. And going through that, it's all good to grant yourself the grace to go through the grieving process. You don't have to be, pooping on yourself saying, oh, I should be better. I shouldn't be doing it. Oh, I've been through this stage. It's a non-linear process. Just because you've been through the denial phase and progressed to any of the other phases, you can still revisit that, because a part of your mind is needing to find resolution with that stage of grief. And I would just encourage you to allow that to happen, and don't be judging yourself for, oh, I'm still in denial, I'm still in the bargaining, I'm still in, whatever. You're not still in it. You're in it again, and you're just visiting it for a moment because your mind had to go and resolve something. And that's okay. And just because you're finding healing with each individual stage doesn't mean that you are failing if you find yourself having to revisit that phase, or find yourself revisiting that, not having to, but you find yourself revisiting that phase. That's not failure. There's no failure, there's only feedback.
Absolutely.
So that's just my word of encouragement on that.
Perfect. That's absolutely perfect, Kevin. I could not have said it better myself. And I think it is so true, because I would identify that I'm bipolar, and that's just who I am. And if I'm not bipolar, who am I? Who am I? So whenever you have that subtraction and you're removing things, it's like you almost have to fill it with who you are, and to redefine that identity. So thank you so much. That is brilliant. Thank you, Kevin.
Absolutely. And I am not an MS patient. I am not a person with bipolar. That's not who I am.
I love it. I love it. Amen. All right. And next we have a question from Monica. Monica, go ahead.
Thank you, Emily. So just real quick backstory. I've been overweight since I was 8 years old, after a summer with my grandparents that ended tragically with my grandfather passing away. And I did all the diets on the planet. My mom tried to support me in every single diet I wanted to do over the years. And I topped out at 418 pounds. And in 2005, I had gastric bypass surgery. 3 years after the gastric bypass surgery, I found out that the surgeon chose not to follow the procedure. And therefore, he gave me a 6-month window to lose weight instead of an 18-month window to lose weight. So now I had rearranged my body and still had difficulties. By 2017, I diagnosed myself with insulin resistance. At 418 pounds, I did not have high blood pressure. I had no problems with my sugar, my cholesterol, nothing. I was just an extremely overweight, healthy person. And so I researched and educated myself and discovered I was insulin resistant. And I started intermittent fasting and doing lower carb eating, which mostly I had been doing anyway since gastric bypass. And then in the winter of 2017, wanting to take it to the next level, I found keto and I started keto in 2018. And then 2019, I did like 100 days of carnivore. And then I did protein sparing, and I've tried all the things. And then, as I said, I eventually had a revision done on the gastric bypass when they discovered it had been done wrong, but it was 3 years later. And I was told that with exercise, I could maybe lose another 20 pounds. What I heard was I could still lose weight. And eventually I took off 209 pounds from where I started.
Yay!
But then unfortunately lockdown hit, and it took a mental toll that I didn't even realize it was taking. And after lockdown, I was 97 pounds heavier, and I am now 57 years old. I'm fully in menopause, and this weight is not going anywhere. I had, gonna say it in the past tense, a constant buzzing in my brain, which I, again, educated myself, and I learned it was inflammation. And I was, what do I need to do? And so going back and forth and all of these things, I have, again, realized that for my body, I need high fat, as high as I can go. And I have made my peace with it, that I would rather have a brain that is not inflamed. By the way, I've had 3 concussions. I promised my mother I would not climb high places anymore and take the quick way down. So I know there's trauma to my brain. As a child, I don't know why, clearly I read about it, but I suffered a lot with allergies, and I'm ADD. I didn't know that till I was in my early 30s. And I never could sleep through the night. And I would bump my head against my arm, against the pillow to get myself back to sleep. Now, I've since read that a lot of children do that with allergy issues, and they believe that it shifts the fluid so that we can have a level of comfort. But I'm sure that's also created trauma to the front of my brain. And so with high fat, I didn't even realize when it was gone. Just one day I realized my brain didn't hum anymore, but I wasn't losing weight. And ultimately, that's what our brain tells us. At a lower rate, we're healthier. I know at a lower weight, I had a level of happiness that I never thought I would feel for myself, because I don't have a lot of self-love. And so I want to get back there. I want to get back to that feeling that I had for myself and a level of healing. And so I'm working hard on that, but I do struggle with sources of fat and getting in enough fat. Because of the gastric bypass, obviously my food is leaving my stomach and going into a section of my intestine that is not meant to digest food at that stage. I don't have that part anymore. And so I can consume fat. I did the ox bile thing and stuff. My body didn't do anything different with or without it. And I don't have my gallbladder anymore. And so I can consume fat. And I know a lot of people that have had the surgery that can't. So I know the blessing of that. I just have to take it in slowly and let my body truly have time to absorb it. I know I have to do extra because I do have malabsorption, and I can work around all those things. I just need sources. Anything that anybody wants to help me with, I can do dairy. I do a lot of butter. I've got bacon cooking in the oven right now and pork belly. Betsy, I'm so excited for you. I also have lamb stew meat thawing right now, which will be going in the crock pot after this. And goodness knows I didn't get to pay those prices for it. So I am like so excited for you and those prices. Please get goat, because I love I love goat, and it's great in the crock pot, nice, low and slow. It's a delicious meat. And I hope that you'll get some and enjoy it. So I just want to put it out to the group. If anybody wants to share what are some of their favorite sources of fats, maybe things I haven't considered. I'm open to everything. I'm a very adventurous eater. Half my family were hunters in Kentucky. I've eaten many of the woodland creatures. I don't anymore because I don't typically have access to them. I'm not afraid of fat. And I was sharing with Emily with the week that I'm on in her system that I truly see a huge difference when I don't get enough fat in. So that is the struggle of my diet, where I honestly noticed that I had really upped the fat, and I had 2 days this week. I typically go to bed at 10. I wake up between 4 and 5 a.m. That's all the sleep I get. This week, I literally slept to 6 a.m. for 2 nights.
That's awesome.
Because I had enough fat and it made a difference for my body. And then by the third day, it was a busy day. I didn't even get in a lot of food, let alone fat. And I was right back to waking up at 4 a.m. I would like to sleep till 6. If I sleep to my alarm and I don't get to do all the things I do early in the morning, I can do them later. But my body taking that time to heal is the most important thing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. That's a great question. And we are almost out of time. We've got just a few more minutes. So Amy, I would love to hear your answer to how she can get more fat.
Okay, I'll go fast. I promise. I have a list.
You're fine.
My absolute favorite ways of getting fat, the really high fat, for one, fatty drinks. Whether you drink coffee or tea or water, fantastic. What is that? What's in it?
Chai and butter.
Okay. So what I like to do, I actually add, some people aren't okay with this, but for some people, this is kind of the magic thing. Try coconut oil.
I'm allergic.
Are you allergic? Okay. I remember you said.
I watch your videos all the time. I know how you make your coffee. I'm allergic to coconut. I can do MCT oil, and that's the only coconut product that my body will allow.
Then I understand the MCT is, yeah. So, yolks, I dip my food in everything in yolks. The yolk waffles, have you tried those yet?
There's some in my fridge.
Okay, good. I actually started turning them into like little tortillas. I spread it out thinner, and I've started using those and making these giant wraps. Bone marrow really is my favorite way to get a high amount of fat. Have you ever tried bone marrow?
I have, but I haven't. I've only cooked it in with when I make birria, but I've not just cooked it by itself. I don't know that I know how, but I have grass-fed marrow bones in my freezer, but I haven't been making birria, so I haven't done anything with them.
Yeah. So what I do, if they're the really tall ones, or if they're the really small ones, it changes the time, but I cook them at 450. Tall is 30 minutes, short is 15 minutes.
Okay.
And at 450, and then I'll like scrape it out. I use a, what's it called? Chopstick. And I scrape all the bone marrow out so that it falls out. And if it's a little bit pink, usually I'll eat it. If it's too pink, then I'll throw it into my air fryer and I'll finish it in the air fryer for just a little bit until the pink is gone. And then I save all of the liquid rendered fat. I strain that out and I cook all of my food in it. So if I'm going to make bacon or eggs, not bacon, but eggs or steak or pork or anything else, I'll throw that tallow into it as well and cook with that. Have you tried dipping anything into the raw yolks?
I haven't. And I know you do that and I forget about it, but I will do
See,
that today.
now that I've said it, it'll help you remember it. I do still use dairy, just a little bit of dairy. It's always the bling of the outfit. It is never the full thing. So that if you can handle it, I only do like the pretty hard cheeses and things like that. Pork belly, of course, is phenomenal. And then the suet, you can try, not the suet, the beef fat trimmings. You can do it Emily's way, where it's the raw. So it's like little chunks of cheese, or you can do it air fried as well. You can put some seasoning on top of it and air fry it. And then they're like crispy little golden nuggets of amazingness. So those would be my top tips.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then Larry says in the chat, my favorite fat intense recipe, mix 7 egg yolks with 3 tablespoons of cream, then scramble in 2 tablespoons of butter or bacon grease. That sounds delicious. So that is in the chat.
Got a picture of that.
Awesome. Betsy, you wanted to add something?
I have an herb butter recipe that was my grandmother's. I've shared it all over the place, and it is by far incredible. I don't know why people aren't trying it, and I don't know how to get the recipe to you, but I can even eat it as a fat bomb. I can take it by the spoonful and eat it. I put it on everything.
Awesome. Can you email it to me and then I'll post it?
Yes, perfect.
I'll post it on Instagram and Facebook, and I will just blast it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. That's so exciting. I can't wait. All right. Thank you guys so much. This has been an incredible meeting, an incredible conversation, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again next Saturday. Have a good one.